education is very central. This is not surprising because to begin with, we should always define the concepts that we are talking about. Development is not just growth, it is structural change also. This is known from our school texts. And in human and economic development terms, it should lead to not just more GDP, etc., but moral development. And Japan is a very good example of this. And Japan used education as a central component of its development exercise, which, as I said, involves not only it is a third, I think, largest economy. One in our work culture, plus it was partially adopted, and schools are getting emptied. Just 20 students left in the middle school in the village, and they are shifting to small private village schools where the teacher is paid 3,000, 4,000 rupees at the most. Even a laborer sends their ward to this private school where they charge about 150 rupees or so, no midday meal, etc. But they prefer sending them there. Teacher is paid just 3,000 rupees, whereas the government school teacher is getting 40,000, 45,000 to start with. And those schools are getting emptied because of the difference in the work culture. Of course, the hire and fire policy available to the private school authorities, that is the other extreme, that is also exploitation. Also, besides no detention, we adopted this inflation of marks. We as teachers have been seeing this. 90% in history, hardly know anything. And this was done without any deliberation. No public discussion that boards are adopting this. And on top of that, IIT admissions, one thing is good in India is IIT, the islands as we say, in a mess of mediocrity. Those admissions were linked to the board marks. And how are board exams conducted in UP and Bihar or in many other states also? But the mass copying, as you see in this photograph, this famous Bihar snap. So, how do you justify such a decision that IIT admission should be linked to these marks? 50% marks should be from board. Now this has been undone, fortunately, but such decisions were taken. So the problem is not just in implementation and corruption, etc., but sometimes in real policy mess. Now, besides this, in school education, there is this whole question of Einstein's famous quip, the only thing that stands between me and my learning is the education I had. So, this has been a general global concept that this education kills creativity by being text heavy, too much centered on text, classroom and exam. This is a general complaint, but we have, as I said, we have Anna Hazare in the rural tapestry of India, Sonam Wangchuk in the education tapestry. It is possible to just cut short all the unnecessary text load and focus education on learning through doing. This is what Gandhi's idea was, but why has it not happened? I'll come to this point. Why are we not able to realize education as Rousseau had envisioned? As Gandhi said repeatedly, learning through doing, character is more important, textual knowledge is less important, so on. Why does it not happen? I'll come to this point. In the higher education sector, what are the major concerns? See, in India today, parents are spending about $17 billion annually for educating wards abroad. We just have some islands of IITs and IIMs, but the general level of college education, I was speaking to some BTech students in Meerut, CCS, Chaudhary Charan Singh University. Hardly any classes, despite the biometric. Even engineering students of a very established state university, hardly any classes. And only teachers who are teaching, they say, is ad hoc. I'm very happy that That is not the situation in Delhi University. We have excellent teachers at the college level also, who would be professors anywhere in the world. But in Mufassal, India, what is the nature of a degree college? But more than that, we also have a very big distortion in the very pyramid of our higher education setup. Whether you take Germany, Japan, South Korea, 2/3 of pass outs from school will go into the vocational and professional streams. We have the obverse in India. We have now about 25% of the cohort in higher education institutions. This expanded rapidly within the last 15 years. Otherwise it was settling around 10-12%. Now we have about 25% of the youth of that age group is in higher education institution. In USA, etc., Germany, it is up to 2/3, 50% to 2/3 is the general norm. But of these 2/3 is in the professional stream. Because most students are not academically minded. But we have, because it was easier to create just degree colleges, you don't need labs, etc. 60 lakhs of our youth are doing BA. Out of about 3 crores in the higher education stream, 60 lakhs are in just BA. 20 lakhs in commerce, about 20 lakhs in sciences, etc. These are the ratios. Much less in the technical and professional stream, despite the expansion which happened after 1990. Yes, as it was mentioned, many private colleges, but these BTech colleges, management institutes, just commercial ventures, and it has been mentioned what is the state, and many of them are closing down now because they charge high fee naturally, and if they don't give the output, they will have to close down. But the worst thing in the higher education, which should be a pain for all of us, Allahabad High Court had advertised some 100 PNs jobs, MBAs and MAs in about 1 lakh applications. Of them, so many thousands were MBAs and MBAs. They gave a practical test standing in rain to show how they can be sweepers. Now, and this is not just an isolated case. We know our own students, बेचारे पटेल चेस की कोठरियों में 10-10 साल का सबसे सुनहरे दिन रखते हुए बिता देते हैं. This should be a major concern for us. Now, what is the reason? Because they all want formal sector jobs. But we have not allowed the formal sector to grow in India. We chained our entrepreneurs. POSCO's $7 billion project was stopped because some gods are supposedly residing in the hill and they should not be disturbed. This would have created lakhs of jobs. This is not just one story. South Korea, which is a manufacturing hub, has 60% forest cover. Actually, there is no contradiction between environment and development, even industrial revolution. But we have created a mess at the policy level. Now I come to the changes in the education sector. At the global level, 2-3 important changes to remember are digitization. And this has made it more democratic access possible for even those who are not in the top institutes. You have the best lectures from MIT, Oxford, etc. online. But we have to create material in Hindi, in Indian languages, I should say. If I'm not wrong, except Nehru's translation from Glimpses of World History, there is hardly any word history or pictorial word history in Urdu. In Hindi there are one or two. In Kannada I don't know. This is a huge neglect. We need to create, and as I was mentioning in the morning, let's record some of our lectures if they come out well in classroom also. Just record them and put them on YouTube. Make it available, especially when you are doing it in Hindi, and if it comes out well, let's use this technology. That was one major change that has come up in the global higher education scenario. Interdisciplinarity is another. Plus, of course, there are negative sides of the digital revolution, the internet revolution. I won't go into that. Within India, also we have had flurry of activity. So many commissions set up: the Knowledge Commission, Yashpal Committee report, the recent Subramaniam report, and then the draft new education policy is on the website now. Hopefully, it will be implemented. Some of the changes we have ourselves seen since 1990s, the semester system. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said draft. It's a draft which has been. No, I have downloaded. The draft is there. Okay. What? So that is a good corrective, that even the draft is not available publicly at the moment. But we are so slow on the front. But some changes did come about, as I said: semester system, internal assessment, application and foundation courses. Slowly they have been seeping into the higher education sector. I'll be focusing today on the higher education scenario, and as I said, what needs to be done and what can be done even at the individual level. Amongst the good changes, salaries have gone up. The NAC system has, at least given us an opportunity to take stock, and we get to know who is doing what within the institution. Scholarships for minorities. Skill centers are a major concern, but I'll come to this point why they are failing and what seems to be missing. There are huge number of issues in the pipeline now. You must have heard of, VC's appointment. It's a big issue, because they appoint professors which have an immense impact. So the way VCs are appointed in India, this needs some streamlining. This is one of the concerns spelled out in the draft that I read. Maybe it has been removed now. World-class universities, autonomy to colleges, etc. These are all in the pipeline. UGC itself will be superseded by another regulating body. Also, the ministry has been talking about reducing the textual load, which is, I think, a good idea, and putting more emphasis on skills, to which I'll just come in a while. But major points at which the system seems to be faltering, apart from, as Rajputji said, the whole thing is so slow. Even regular appointments have been held up for decades. This is amazing, and besides being worrisome. Then the API story. I had written to both Minister, UGC. I did get a reply. I must mention that is one positive side. But this kind of API, apart from false substandard journals, etc., coming up, this API thing will harm the students, because most of us will be focused on just getting articles, presentations. There is no real system of honoring good teaching, honoring and even appreciating. I request all principals to create some honors even at the college level. It's a big thing to be honored by your own friends. We don't need national honors, but quality teaching should be respected, and that happens just silently. No one bothers. Someone कोई बहुत ढंग से पढ़ा रहे, but there's no credit for that. I think the most important thing that needs to be done, and how it is to be done, that we need a radical rethinking of curriculum. And this point is very well taken, that we need the youth. Everyone is not academically minded. Those who are already academically directed should, of course, have options where history honors, physics honors. But there is a vast crowd of students who will become soldiers tomorrow, pilots tomorrow, businessmen. They need a bouquet of knowledge and skills, not just over-specialized understanding at the BA level. If somebody chooses a subject like physics at the postgraduate level, it's understandable that we give them maximum theoretical and disciplinary load. But at the undergraduate level, maybe it will be a good idea. My feeling is that there should be more options, choices, and including skills available, and those skills should be graded. Otherwise, no one will, like NSS is there, NCC is there. But the seriousness will come when they enter your final scope. More than that, I think this can really do a big good. All top selections like IAS, what does a district magistrate need to do when he is appointed, she or she? The knowledge of how many pillars in this particular temple is not going to help. Your leadership quality, your social work capacity, that should be somewhere counted at least at the interview stage. You should be asked to upload your social work, and at the time if you reach that stage in the interview, this will be discussed also. Of course, I'm not denigrating the importance of just traditional knowledge and so on, but these skills should also have 10-15% mark. Even in IIT admissions, we talk about engineers, without it's good that humanities is there in IITs. Also, the most important thing is character. In these selection and appointments, where do we count character and how do we do it? I'll just come to this point. How can character be assessed? One suggestion I've thrown already. People should be asked to do social work. Imagine 5 lakh students taking IAS exam. If these wards are also into some social work and uploading their videos, how much social work will get done? And not just the children from the top families, the richer section who are good at the academic, have an academic bent, but lower classes will also benefit because they often have much better skills on these fronts. But this will require, if we are going to, skills should not be thought only in terms of vocational skills, life skills. I carried this experiment just before taking my VRS. We set up a group called Learning Beyond Curriculum in our college, and the skills which I thought, we had at least some sessions on each. Why should every graduate not be able to offer first aid? It just takes a 2 weeks training. It's so unfortunate. Self-defense. What helps you most in life? Social skills. Some sense of humor. Now, some people have inborn, but many like me don't have that. And this system just kills all capacity. Why don't we have it in our education system itself? And you just need some brilliant speakers addressing students on these issues